Well, on the flight from New York to England, there's a really, really lovely hostess, a beautiful Indian lady. It was an Air India flight. And we were sitting, no, I wasn't in first class, we were all in economy. We were sitting next to her, Paul and myself, and I was trying to keep myself to be the thinnest I could be. And things. Anyway, this lady came along and she said, there's something about you. I'm thinking, I know you or something. And Sri Mataji smiled and she said, yes, I'm a teacher from India. And, da, da, da. And these are two of my disciples. And my lip lifted right up. It was a kind of, I guess it was understood previously, but to hear it from Mother and to introduce me as a disciple to somebody was, I think by then I was over the initial shock and I really recognised that Sri Mataji was an incarnation, and so to be called a disciple by Sri Mataji was, a big deal. The two Australians, as it was, who were travelling with Mother and sitting with Mother, were both Paul and Mother Paul. And she started to talk about Paul and the Bible and said basically this fellow was, I don't know how to put it politely, but he was a rort. He wasn't the real deal. He wasn't correct. He wasn't right. He rolled with women. She just started to tick off all the things that were wrong about this Paul fellow and therefore the Christian religion. And being brought up as a Christian, as a Catholic, and having all this trotted out, and it wasn't common in that. Nobody I knew had a different name, but I said perhaps it might be a good idea to change our name, Sri Mataji, because she was definitely giving Paul a thumbs down. And she said, yes, that's a good idea. She said, we'll call you Pavan. And it wasn't until later that I heard that Pavan meant the wing, which was, we were flying at that time. And I'd also had this experience at the time, just prior to realisation of this wind coming into the room, and when I got it. So, yeah. Because I've been a seeker, I've looked at a lot of things from India and a lot of the gurus and so on, and somehow stories would come to me about these different people on the way, and they were not good stories. And so I had no doubt that they were in some way not kosher or deceitful. And one of the things that I'd been into was astrology and numerology and so on. And so I thought, well, they should at least have an auspicious birthday. And it turned out that Sri Mataji was born on the equinox, which is when I was born. And, at some stage this came up in conversation. We were in Sydney at a restaurant, and one of the other yogis mentioned he'd been born in 1951, and I sparked up and I said, Sri Mataji, I'm born in 1951 too. She said, what's your birthday? I said, it's the same as yours, Sri Mataji. And she looked down a bit, and she looked up and she said, I don't envy you a bit, a life of trials. And I knew what she was talking about, but I couldn't talk it down at all because I was, in the most heavenly place possible. But yes, it was a point that helped me recognise Sri Mataji in the first up. That she had this most auspicious setting for her birth and everything else. When something's right, it just resonates with the whole of your being, and you don't necessarily need the data and the information, but as it comes in, you see that everything fits and everything is absolutely right and everything is correct, and you don't hear any dissonance or resonance with the truth. It just is. She didn't address me too much in terms of personal things. I think one thing she said, which would probably be of interest to the yogis, she said to me once, she said, Sri Ganesha will take you to the heart, but Sri Hanuman will take you the rest of the way. And I think I took at that time the suggestion that I should be more proactive and get more cranked up with things. Well, I was gratified early to hear that Sri Mataji said, and reiterated my own understanding, that there is a God the Father, Parabrahma, transcendent, Sadashiva, and there is God immanent, it's Mother. And therefore, God the Father is to be aspired to, God the Mother will will take you on that journey. She'll cleanse you, she'll nourish you, she'll purify you, she'll perfect you, she'll correct you, and she'll ultimately take you into the presence and then the unity of the Divine Father. And that's really where we're headed.